In 2005, for the Rotary Centennial Year celebration, the love of my life, Moni Mulepati, climbing partner Kami Sherpa, and I were choose to carry Rotary International flag up to summit of Mount Everest. On May 30, around 10:40 a.m., we reached summit of Mount Everest. We hosted Rotary flag, and Moni and I removed our oxygen masks in order to exchange our wedding vows. After 8 months of training and preparation, we successfully and secretly eloped, and we became first couple to be married on top of Mount Everest. So you might think climbing Everest is the most challenging part of this peak experience. But let me back up and provide you a bit more detail that journey takes even greater challenge than climbing Everest. I was grew up as a second child and of 6 and first son in my family. We live in a small remote village called Chyangba, which is real remote. There is no access to road. There is no electricity, drinking water supplies. You name it. There is pretty much nothing. And even we have to go do some groceries, like takes 5-6 days in and out. So from age of 5, doing my a morning village chores, gathering grass, getting a water for family, and then collecting firewood, babysitting my siblings. I commute 4 hours each day to and from only school in area. And I did that around 8 years. And when my grades are going higher and higher, it's required more money for my parents to pay for school. So I kind of feel that they're not able to afford those money. And then one day I decided to drop out and went to Namche Bazaar with one friend to work without telling my parents. So Namche Bazaar is one of the tourist hub. It's kind of big climate, all the big town for the Nepal is almost like a big sky for Nepal. And all the tourists come there, spend 2 days there for acclimatization. And anyone that walk from those remote villages will get job anytime. So I went there and worked for the family who owns 2 guest houses in 2 different towns, Namche and Thangbuje. And as a cook or dishwasher or babysitting their children, and they paid me around $12 per month. And this is my first picture when I was working there. It's the first picture of my life. So I saved all that $12 and sent back to my home with people going to my village to support my parents and siblings those goes to school there. And then at the age of 17, I decided to move to capital city of Kathmandu with several friends. It took us 3 days walk, around 12-hour bus ride, and it was my first time in a capital city. I haven't seen buses or car in my life, and so we don't have a place to stay in Kathmandu, and we managed to arrange eat at a restaurant, a small restaurant. So those of who've been to Nepal able to visualize how a small restaurant looks like. And then we sleep on the rooftop of the restaurant because they don't have rooms. And then owner allow us to pay when we have money from work. So you get to know owner a little bit, so they will kind of write down your name and you can pay later. So in Kathmandu, I was doing a trekking guide and porter seasonally for a couple of years, and then I took a English language course to learn English in Kathmandu. Around the age of 20, I got an opportunity to work at the Everest base camp as a helper for expedition group. And during that time, I see all these climbers going up to summit of Mount Everest, and I thought, oh, I'll be a climber one day. But in order to become a climber, you need some training experience. So in end of 2001, I took a basic climbing course, and in end of 2003, I took advanced mountaineering course. This is where I met Moni. It's now my wife. And then after end of the after I finished my advanced mountaineering course, I got the opportunity to climb Mount Everest in 2004. So March of 2004, I got an opportunity to climb Everest with one of my Sherpa friends from village. So this is me at the Icefall crossing ladder. I didn't have a Facebook that time to post, so. And this is myself at a Camp 4, which is the start death zone. So all the Sherpas who are climbing Everest is not using oxygen till 26,000 feet. So from this level up, they will use oxygen. But if you are paying 60,000 to go climb Everest, you can able to use from the bottom. Okay. And this is our team successfully summited Everest on May 16, 2004, and welcome in Kathmandu. We all safely arrived there. So after 2004 expedition, the Rotary Centennial Year celebration is kind of beginning in Kathmandu. And then Rotary Clubs of Nepal wants to send the Rotary International flag up to summit of Mount Everest in order to celebrate the 100-year celebration. So as a climber and Rotary members, they picked myself, Moni, and Kami as a climbing team. And then during that time, many meetings were held at the Moni's house for the preparation or training. And then Moni's father is a long-time Rotarian, so he encouraged Moni and me and Kami to become member. So around that time, Moni and I fell in love and decided one day we would get married. But in our culture, we wouldn't allow to get married because of the fact that I'm a Buddhist and she's Hindu. And it's completely different religion. And we know that if we can't able to convince our parents for our desire to marry. So Moni and I decided to make a plan that since we are going to climb Everest, we will climb, maybe we'll get married on top of Everest if we both get together. So we kept this plan secret from family, friends, and even our climbing partner, Kami, because if Moni's parents found out, they wouldn't let her go on expedition. So we kind of separately made a plan. And after 8 months of preparation and planning, our journey began to Everest Base Camp, so which is our tent, which is we're going to spend around 45 days there to climb Everest. So I'm going to kind of walk you through the Icefall. This is one of the Khumbu Icefall. It's the most dangerous part of the climbing. In order to cross this area, you have to wake up around 3 and pass before the sunlight hit the area. This is another ladder. I mean, so you're going to cross around 20 or 30 of them. And some of them are like more than 80 feet tall. So this front right here is the Mount Everest, and then we're walking toward a Camp 2. And after 45 days of up and down, then we finally summited Everest, and this is how we exchange our wedding vows. According to the Buddhist and Hindu tradition, had exchanged our red powders and garlands, and had a few climbers witness there, summited together, and we exchanged. And it was, after all that, it was official. We got a certificate from the Nepal government for getting married on top of Everest, and the news made worldwide. And our wedding made a world news. So in many ways, we become heroes in our country, going extra miles against tradition, because that was a huge deal in Nepal, that getting married between Hindu and Buddhist and other ethnic groups. So our team, Moni and Kami, and I got an invitation to come to Chicago and hand over that Rotary flag that we took to summit up Mount Everest to RI president in Chicago Convention Center. That's in front of maybe 40,000 Rotarians from around the world at McCormick Palace Convention Center. So in 2007, I obtained a visa to work in Colorado. During that time, I met a 74-year-old gentleman. His name is Matt Mason. And he's looking for a hiking partner to hike on Continental Divide Trail from New Mexico border to Canadian border. So that was a good opportunity for me to see US. So I said, okay. So I left with him to hike when my daughter is 2 days in a hospital for 3 months. And people are still joking, asking those who knows that I went for hiking. They says, you guys are still together? I said, yeah. So we hiked through 5 states, and from Mexico to Canada. And during that time, we kind of forged through lots of private land and many miles of wilderness, and we even lost so many times. Because the trail is not done yet. So I stayed there, it's still working. So once I done that trips, I back to Colorado. That time I used to live in Colorado, and then I kind of found myself as unknowingly in a recession, so I couldn't find a job in Colorado. So I moved to Ann Arbor, Michigan, where my trekkers friend, Heather O'Neill, is importing goods from Nepal and selling out from her garage. And I went to see her, and then I kind of found out Ann Arbor is a boulder without mountain. So, you know. So I moved there, and then we brought that garage business to downtown Ann Arbor. Now it's called Himalayan Bazaar. And from there, we have a travel agency that we lead a trip to Nepal twice a year. And I go there every spring and fall to lead a trip and buy some goods for bazaar to sell. And then I check in with my parents. In a Nepali culture in a tradition that, you know, the son take care of the parents, family, and siblings who need a help because they don't have a social security or retirement or anything, so their children's are social security for them. And with help from my friends and people that I can able to, you know, improving quality of life in my village. So we lead a lot of health care camp and dental camp to my village. So these are some of the pictures that I was able to build a library with help from the different organization. So school, and we brought electricity and drinking water system, and we got a smokeless stove, so it's no more remote yet. And so the smokeless stove is one of the important projects, I thought, because before people are cooking this way. So it seems like one of the unhealthiest kitchen for family. And it's a cold place, so all the family will kind of sit around under this smoke and eat there. So I would like to thank all those people who helped to make this happen, and especially Sitting Fund and Education Elevated. Those are the nonprofit that got involved and make this happen. So my journey to become a US citizen is kind of become even greater challenge than climbing Everest. You know? It's as an accomplished climbing guide, and then help from Matt Masson and other friend in the US, I was able to get a green card within 8 months. And Moni and I was awarded US citizen in 2005. So we are proud to be a Nepalese American, but mountain of paperwork and legal costs felt big, if not bigger than Mount Everest. So you kind of see there. It took me almost 3 months to gather all this paper. Now Moni and I live in Ann Arbor, Michigan with our 2 beautiful daughters, Mezel and Pelzom. And we recently opened a Nepalese Sherpa restaurant which serves authentic Himalayan cuisine. I feel blessed to have lived the life that I live. And throughout my journey, scaling peaks, no matter the type, has remained my passion. And thank you, and namaste.